Hey guys, welcome into the video. This video is going to be completely different than what I typically do on the channel here. I wanted to pop on, give a little bit of a life update, let you know where I've been, what I've been doing, what's been going on, all of the things, and why the content kind of just stopped for a few weeks. So before we get into all that, like this video, subscribe if you're not already, leave a comment. All those things really do help boost us in the algorithm. So if you support the channel, you support what we're doing here, you want to help us out, those are the easiest ways to help kind of give us a little bit more reach in the algorithm. But if you want to support us even further, the best place to do that is over on Patreon. So I have a link to our Patreon down below. So, life update. I realized that the last couple weeks I kind of fell off the map, and that was completely unintentional, but things kind of became really busy, and then I got really sick. And so we don't typically talk about like what's going on in our day-to-day lives here on the channel because we've set this channel up, at least here on YouTube, to be more about information. We want to give you information about domestic discipline from our perspective, from our experience, but we don't typically talk about our day-to-day. And this is kind of more of a video that I would typically put over on Patreon. I used to do these little like life update videos a lot over on Patreon, but that's not something that I've ever really shared publicly on YouTube. And I just felt like because I had been so consistent with the content and then I just kind of wasn't, I really did feel like I owed you an explanation about where I went and what has been going on. So Coda had a school obligation. He is in the process of finishing a upper graduate degree. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to give more details than what he's comfortable with me giving, but he is finishing an upper level graduate degree, and he had some obligations for that. We had family coming into town, and things just kind of became really busy really quickly. And I had anticipated that happening. What I didn't anticipate happening was that I ended up getting really sick. It started out as what I thought was allergies. I really did think it was allergies. And it quickly turned into a pretty significant upper respiratory infection. So even in the midst of the busyness, I really just couldn't slow down. And so I ended up getting pretty significantly sick. Now, I don't prefer going to the doctor. I don't really like just running to the doctor every time I'm sick. I really do like to give myself time to process through whatever's going on, try to heal naturally, try to, take all the vitamins, all the supplements, all of the things to try to give my immune system the support that it needs in order to heal itself. But about 3 or 4 times a year, none of my home remedies or efforts are sufficient, and I end up having to go to the doctor. But because I don't really like to go to the doctor right away, I typically end up getting pretty sick before I kind of give in and go to the doctor. And so after all of the school obligations that Kodo had going on, after our family had come and gone, I realized that I realized how sick I really was because I was able to slow down and kind of notice. And it's not that I was just sick. It was that I couldn't really, it was affecting my breathing. It was affecting my ability to kind of hold a sustained conversation. And so it was really affecting my ability to record because I would say every day, I need to get out and record. I know that I'm falling behind on content, and I was just so tired and I couldn't talk for long periods of time because my breathing was affected. And I believe it was a Sunday night, Coda just asked me, he's like, "You're really not feeling good, are you?" And I said, "I'm really not." And he said, "Do you need to go to the doctor?" And I was like, "I don't want to, but I think that I am going to have to go." And so he took me first thing the next morning. He took me to an urgent care. I got what I needed. They definitely saw that I was kind of suffering from this upper respiratory infection. It had moved from my sinuses into my chest, and I really thought that when my sinuses were starting to clear, I thought that I was getting better, but it settled into my chest. I wasn't able to, like I said, breathe very effectively, and that's kind of important. So once that started happening, I was like, yeah, I need to go and get something for this. So almost immediately, medications helped immensely. I started feeling better very, very quickly, but then Coda went out of town, which I really loved for him. He hardly ever gets a chance to get away and just take a break from the day-to-day and kind of get that renewal that only comes from being able to step away and take a break. And so I really wanted him to go out of town, but because of him being gone, there's a lot that Coda does that when he's gone and I have to kind of pick up that slack, it takes a lot of energy and time, and I just felt like I was not able to catch up. And I was having to, keep our dog on schedule with her walks and make sure that she was getting everything that she needed. I was having to make sure that, I was doing everything that I typically do in the house and with our daughter and just all the things, right? And so it just felt like I didn't have enough hours in the day, because when I was sick, I had gotten behind not only on podcast work, not only on, things for the disciplined life here. I got behind on things in the house, and I got behind on laundry, and I got behind on, all of the things. And so I just felt like I was trying to play catch up, as well as, doing the things that Coda typically does around the house in his absence. And it just felt like I didn't have enough hours in the day. And the more I tried to catch up, the more I tried to push myself, the more exhausted I was getting. And it got to the point where I was just absolutely just in shutdown mode. By the end of the night, I just could not function. And I almost felt guilty. And this is definitely just a me thing. This is something that I need to work on, because this is not something that Coda requires of me. This is not something that he is driving this feeling within me. This is definitely something that is intrinsic within myself. But I just felt guilty for needing to rest and for not being able to catch up and not being able to do all the things. And the more I pushed myself, the more exhausted I got. And so the last few days, I have just allowed myself to rest, to recuperate, to get the sleep that I needed. And now I am ready to get back into routine, get back into, being on schedule with the content here on YouTube and also on Patreon. I hate to admit it, but even the content that I was creating for Patreon, that was starting to fall behind as well. And so I am getting back onto all the things. Finally got caught up with everything in the house, got caught up with, Coda got back into town, so he was able to take back the things that he typically does around the house. And it's funny because I do the majority of our house management, if you will, just with all of the cooking and cleaning and just the day-to-day running of our home. I do that under Coda's direction, of course, but I do the majority of the tasks and the labor within the home. But it's interesting because anytime that he's gone, anytime that I have to kind of pick up the slack for the things that he does do, I realize how much that contributes and how much that really does help me to not have to worry about, feeding the dog and walking the dog. That's a huge part of it. I didn't realize, just taking those chunks of time out to, feed and walk the dog, because she goes on 2 walks a day. And I was like, I didn't think that really would be that significant, but it really did just disrupt the entire flow of my day. And so the fact that he does that is so helpful to me. It just is I'm so grateful that he steps up and does those things. And so now that I'm not having to do that, I have the time to kind of put into getting back into my schedule and back into my routine. I'm feeling 100% better. I am feeling like I can breathe, I can talk, I can do all the things that are required to create these videos and produce these videos for you guys. And I want to get back into it. Now, with all of this going on, you might be asking yourself, how did that affect your domestic discipline? Let's bring it back around. Let's talk something on topic, right? Coda typically does not pause our discipline for me being sick. I say typically because it does. There are times when he will. There are times when I will request reprieve, and he will grant it. But typically, he tries to maintain our structures. He tries to maintain the discipline. Now, we're never out of dynamic. We never kind of pause domestic discipline from our lives. But if I truly am not in a state to accept discipline, if it's earned, then he will just, he won't necessarily give me that spanking that day. But it will be coming. He will make sure that he writes it down and that is dealt with when I can receive it, because me being sick is not an excuse to not be respectful, to not honor his authority, to not do the things I'm supposed to do within reason, right? Because like I said, I got really behind on a lot of my tasks, but that was understandable because I was not functioning at my best, right? And Coda completely understood that. I did not get in trouble or get disciplined for falling behind on housework. Housework is actually really low on Coda's priority list, to be completely honest. I'm the one that cares more about that aspect. He really wants me to respect him, to honor his authority, to be obedient to him. He really wants me to keep myself safe and healthy. Those are like the bigger priority points for him. And then he doesn't want to live in a dirty house, obviously. He doesn't want to just not care about that aspect at all. But that is a much lower priority point for him. So if I fall behind on housework tasks, if I'm being respectful to him, if I'm honoring him, if I'm being soft and submissive towards him, he's not bothered by the housework falling behind a little bit. And so I wasn't punished for that. I wasn't disciplined for any of that because he completely understood that I wasn't feeling well, and those things were falling behind not for laziness, not for lack of responsibility, but because I had a legitimate reason for those things to not be getting done to the level and on the schedule that they typically do. So all that to say, we still had our morning corrections. We still had our maintenance. I think I even earned a correction or two in that time period where I was feeling pretty sick. And what Coda does is he just modifies the pacing a little bit of my spankings during that time. And he allows me to communicate if I need to just take a minute to compose myself in order to slow my breathing down. But if I truly was so sick that I couldn't receive a spanking, he would delay that spanking. It wouldn't go away if I earned it, but he would delay that spanking. And so that I was really thankful that he maintained all of our structures and maintained my discipline through this process, because it made it a lot easier for me to remain respectful, to remain submissive, because it offered that regulation, because most of the spankings I received were preemptive, were kind of maintenance in how they functioned, right? We do morning corrections as a preemptive spanking. It's not earned. It is more functions like a maintenance, but it's a lot shorter than our typical maintenance, which is why we call it something different. And so all that to say, I was really, really thankful that he really did maintain our structures throughout this process, because it made it so much easier for me to not completely fall apart. I really do count on and rely on those spankings for the regulation. I'm not typically a super dysregulated person, but I definitely function at my best when I have the regulation and just like the grounding feeling that I get from being connected to Coda's authority. And the best way for me to connect to his authority and to kind of connect to my role and connect to my submission and feel within my place within our relationship is to have those planned spankings. And so I was really, really grateful that he didn't forego those, that he didn't use me being sick as an excuse to not follow through. Now, I will say that if I would have at any point requested that he either delay or forego a planned spanking because I just did not feel well enough, he absolutely would have. And so I want to make sure that I am communicating that he is very reasonable and he's not tyrannical in how he structures our relationship. I want to make sure that everyone out there knows that he would not spank me if it wasn't truly what was best for me, and that he is very aware to keep me safe, to keep me, to keep what's best for me at the forefront of his mind. And so that is why, honestly, that's why he followed through. Because if he didn't follow through, he wouldn't have been doing what was best for me. And if I truly, truly needed him not to spank me that day, I know that I can communicate that. He's very open to hearing me out, hearing what I need, and fulfilling my needs to the best of his ability. So all that to say, I feel like that is kind of, in a nutshell, where I've been, what's been going on. Just know that I am getting back into it. Content is coming back. I'm going to be consistent from this point forward. And yeah, I just wanted to give that to you guys, let you know that things are moving forward. Things are going really well in our relationship, and we have made some major changes in how we function as a couple and how our dynamic is being ran. And Coda is raising the standards on me, which is a hard process, but it's a necessary process. It's something that honestly I'm struggling with a little bit more than I thought. It's been a little bit of more of an emotional journey than I expected. But he is so confident in his leadership and in his role, and so that has made it so much easier for me to come under his leadership and to be comfortable in this new level of vulnerability that I have had to embrace. And so that's been really good. And so we've experienced a lot of good growth during this time as well. And I am so excited to see kind of what the next year brings for us as we kind of anticipate the end of the year. Our wedding anniversary is coming up next month. And so it kind of is all coming to this like full circle moment where we're starting a new year. We're starting a new year of our marriage. Pretty soon we'll be celebrating the anniversary of the podcast. And so everything is kind of moving forward in a really positive way. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm really, just optimistic about what the future holds. And I can't wait to kind of get back into creating our regularly scheduled content for you guys. So if you like these like life update videos, let me know. I could do them more often. I just don't think I'm that interesting of a person, to be completely honest. But if you want to know more about what's going on in just the day-to-day, let me know. I can definitely do that periodically. Leave me a comment and give me your feedback on that. If you're like, no, this was kind of boring, thanks for the update, but I'd rather not hear about it, you can let me know that too. And otherwise, I will talk to you guys next time.